they don't share with local state. So your observations and how far we've come.
You know, the wonderful thing about being a private citizen, I just say what I feel and you can take it for what it's worth. But I'm keen on this and I do continue to pay attention to it. Quick story on my personal observation. I'm in San Diego. I did some remarks, press gathers afterwards, and they asked me about immigration. Now, I thought about immigration for a long time because agriculture in Pennsylvania is the #1 industry, and we have migrant workers who are going to provide their health care. Sometimes they bring their kids. You want to take care of the kids. It's good business to take care of those who are working on your farm. So I laid out the RIDS plan for immigration reform. Now, remember, I'm an employee. I'm a cabinet member. And we're walking to the car, and my press secretary says, "You did it now." And what do I do? Well, you just talked about this big immigration plan. And I said, well, they asked me what I thought, and I told them what I thought. Wasn't 2 hours later, it was an AP story, I got a call from the White House. What the heck is Rich talking about immigration plan when President Bush hasn't announced his yet? So I learned not to be too forward-leaning anymore. Now I can lean forward. One of the biggest challenges after 9/11 for Homeland Security was one to make people understand generally we were a consumer of information. We had to rely on the alphabet agencies, #1. #2, there was a Cold War mentality, need to know. And I remember that an FBI agent said to this retired Marine general who was working with me, and he's lucky he survived the conversation because I could see the smoke coming out of the Marine's ears, saying, well, you know, you're in a need-to-know position, and we'll just tell you when you need to know. I was lucky the guy didn't grab him and throttle him. We say you have to shift it from need to know to need to share. Because you can't secure the country from inside the Beltway. And so slowly, inexorably, it began to change. I will tell you, first couple of months we used to argue about words once we convinced them to send out bulletins. So I think we've made dramatic changes, positive changes. I still believe there are gaps. Now, internationally, we're tight. Law enforcement, tight. Intelligence, tight. I have from fairly reliable sources, that the information that the FBI had on the two brothers in Boston was not shared with the local folks. And I know it wasn't shared in the appropriate way with Homeland Security, so they could monitor either brother's traffic in and out, which might have caused some concern. So we've come so far, but somebody, for whatever reason, was in a close hold mode, and that's dangerous. If you can't trust people in law enforcement positions around your country with that information, you may not even necessarily ask them to do things, but they can probably do it more subtly than you can, then we will never maximize our ability to reduce the risk. I mean, it's all about managing the risk, because the risk is there all the time. So I think we've made progress. I still think we have one. Major Hassan has been reported. 2 different groups of FBI agents knew that an active duty soldier on his way to Iraq was emailing al-Awlaki. Now, everybody knew he was a leader of al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. I think that could have been avoided, but they didn't share. So